That used to frustrate me when they used to say things that when I used to hear that, who are you? Who are you? And I would take that moment. In other words, they are saying they don't see you. When I hear these when I heard that statement previously, I don't see you. Who are you? Who are you? You don't see me. And then when you stand there and you think, wow, wow. So no matter what I do, you would never see me. You would never see me. You don't see us. Huh? And then next minute, some person will come with a uniform on. And then they will even bow and back up. They will bow and back up when this person comes with a uniform. And then they will say, look at this person, look at this person. This thing here is nothing. You need to eradicate that. Take it away from us. But we are the ones who are standing on the front line. We are the ones who are standing for the truth for all. We are standing here with the strong morality of what needs to be exhibited. I've seen our sisters standing out there, voicing the needs of our community. Where are our brothers? I've seen some. I've seen a few. I've seen a few, but our defense line is weak. Our defense line is weak. Absolutely devastated. Our defense line does not exist in the minds, in the eyes of those who feel that they just can come into our community for whatever it is and decimate us left, right, and center. Yeah, but you know when the formulation of the Rastafari community, it took steps. It took steps. Did they have the correct formula and the correct understanding from the beginning? No. It was guided through thoughts, actions, meditation and dedication. Meditation and get dedication. It took time. Did the Black Panthers come and they had they had an ideal formulation? No. It took time. Dedication, education. Dedication and education. Right? They had to learn the rule books inside out. Live within the rule books of their rights. We do our demonstrations, even though the government itself, current government, put forth plans and they put it into their laws that what we participate in is illegal. To gather together to discuss the issues which are imposing upon us as a community. Huh? To the extent of that, Even if we want to gather together to celebrate or give acknowledgement to one person, and it's in a public area, like the streets, they're saying it is illegal for you to come together to do this. It's against the law. It's against the law. Do we chase them away? More often than not, no, we don't chase them away. Do we put up a strong defense? We might verbalize our rights and our our true purpose of coming together. But they want to come with pressing the suppression of the law of their land, their system onto you, because you do not have freedom. You don't have it. You don't have it, not in their eyes. This is why they will say, who are you? Who are you? Huh? Who are you? Telling you, people, we need to really balance ourselves and get ourselves back into synchronization of our direction of action. Yeah, we need to do that. We need to be doing that, man, straight away, bro. Hmm. I tell you, we need to be doing that so crazy. Earlier, let me give you something like this.
And
Yes. Campaign for truth and justice, stepping up in our lives. Boy, an absolute necessity at all times. Don't just let life push and pull you. We have the clear vision of our direction of what we need, what is needed. I was able to be speaking also very inspirational talks of the works that is happening in the motherland. The journey of one or group is taken step by step. And it's not straightforward either. It's not straightforward either. Every step has to be assessed, analyzed, worked upon continuously. It has to be worked on. And if we don't work on ourselves, continuously assessing ourselves each step of the way, what can we do? What can we say? Who are we? Who are we? As that expression would come, who are you? Do we have an identification? I think we do. I think joined. Grand Risings, my sister. Grand Risings.
Grand Rising.
Boy. Who are you? Who are you? You see?
Hey, that's a good question for a Monday rising. Definitely a good question for a Monday rising. Depending on, and greetings family, greetings Brother Aston. Depending on your movements for today, that may be the first way that you introduce yourself.
Exactly. Let's get our identification clear. Yeah? Let's get our identification clear, our direction. Start with our foundation. Right? Even for those who are just wandering in a zombified way. In other words, they're just going through a routine without even thinking what they're doing. They don't even give time for themselves. They identify themselves with their activities. Or their assigned activities.
Their roles or responsibilities.
Yeah. They identify themselves with that. Right? Or the position that they have been identified to play.
Yeah.
Right? That it reminds me of a conversation I was having one time with a person that I was working with. And what he was saying is that, his father done very well, and his mother, she was a bit of a snob, right? And the thing is that they were all working in the same company that we was working in. Right?
Okay.
I mean, the father was working in the same company, right? So, but he was like one of the senior managers. Yeah. So, so, you know, he said, "Oh, my life, you know, I was very blessed in my life because I was able to just be free, you know, as a young person and do virtually what I wanted because, like, you know, my father could afford that lifestyle." And I went, "Oh, great, great, great." He goes, "But my mother, she really lauded it and like try to like say that we are a certain standard and, you know, try to put them into like the middle to upper class category type of thing." And I said, "But your father worked for the same business that we work for, right?" And he goes, yeah, but you know that we like she would think that we were middle to upper class. I go, really? I goes, so let me get this right. Is that she was saying that you were middle to upper class, but yet your father's working class, right? And he said, "What do you mean by that?" And then obviously he's thinking I'm attacking his mother. I goes, no, I'm not attacking your mother. I goes, he got up in the morning, right? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, and then he went to work for somebody else, but he wasn't the owner of that business, right? And he goes, yeah, that's right. And I go, so therefore he's working class. He goes, it doesn't matter what position he's doing. He's working for somebody else. He ain't working for himself. And it kind of blew his mind a bit. It blew his mind because all of a sudden the lifestyle and everything that he was living was all in his subjected mind, obviously imposed by his parents and what they were able to offer him. But in reality, you're doing exactly the same. It's only that you're just doing it at a different level. That's it.
So I would, and this is from back in the day when I used to do that ology, I would say that depending on you may be working for somebody rather than for yourself, but it depends on how much you're earning, as in the disposable income. It's that I would have thought that the mother's thinking more along the disposable income side, which is why she was encouraging her child to think of themselves as middle class, because they can do I don't know whether or not how true it is, the holidays. They can have the new car every 3 years, offer they do live in the semi-detached house rather than in the flats. They can go to a better school because of the area that they live in. So I think that the mother would have been doing a bouquet or bucket. It would have been one of those.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I'd say
the father didn't care. The father was just going and doing what he needed to do, but the mother was very much, because of the amount your father is earning and we're earning collectively together, because she's also working there, means that we can then, when we walk with our nose in the air and think differently of our behavior against those around us.
Yeah. And I've seen it so often in there, and it did make me laugh. Really, it did make me laugh because like when you're out there and you're in the Tesco and all them place, they're standing in the same queue as you, and everything. So.
Yeah, but they may be standing in the same queue, but what's in their basket? And at that time, they probably would have shopped in Marks and Spencer's if she felt and she believed they were
Waitrose and things like that.
they would have been doing the Marks and, at the time, probably the Marks and Spencer's more so than the Waitrose, but definitely they wouldn't have been standing in the Tesco's queue to do that way.
Yeah.
Because they would have seen them.
It did make me laugh. His reaction to that, you know, but still,
and you just befuddled him. You just
yeah.
To the mix.
Definitely.
I love what you did, because
Mm.
we often take on board what someone else says about us in terms of who we are and our
Mm-hmm.
identity, but
Mm.
that's not how
That's not
we
the real.
see ourselves. So he's old enough,
Mm.
big enough, he's got his big boy pants, so he needs to start thinking about it for himself. How does he
Mm.
see himself?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So no, you threw a spanner in his works, but it needed a spanner to be put in there.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. You know, but in many ways, you could see that it was one of those things that he actually was fighting against as well.
mm, mm,
And the
mm,
reason why he was I feel that he was fighting because he was in that rebellious stage, but he never found a way how um, to express it and then get acknowledgement for it.
mm,
Yeah,
mm,
right. So
mm,
so therefore he feels that him being work being able to express it to us,
mm,
right? He says, "Oh,
mm,
but I'm one of you. I'm one of you." He says, "No, no,
mm,
no."
mm, 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 mm.
Because you're all one of us. You're all one of us. Your mother and your father. Too. Oh dear. Anyway, Grand Rises, my sister. Grand
Grand
Rises.
Rising.
As we reach the end of the month now, toward I say end of the month. It is, isn't it? Wow,
Mm, the last
wow.
week.
We're in the last throes of this
Mm,
month there.
mm,
Anyway,
mm,
as we reach to the end of the month now, I know that we've been on this financial awareness journey. Actually, that was a very appropriate little conversation there, isn't it? We're coming to the end of the month now. Boy, right. We bust the financial identification. Where we there?
mhm, mhm,
Um, how we're gonna be looking at our financial power
mhm,
as well, right?
mhm,
Now let's go cross over to the other end of distribution, practical practical distribution. I don't know why my words are getting
mm.
squeezed up here, you know. Practical distribution.
So what do you
Okay.
mean by distribution?
Proportional. Proportional. What would be the ideal proportions of what we should be like saving, um usage, right? And within our means, um the like domestic thing, because I think at the moment we're facing a crisis because um it seems like the usage or domestic usage of our monies or proportion of our monies have also all of a sudden increased to such an extent that those who were able to save a proportion of their monies, that has
Mm,
probably been wiped out now. Yeah, because of the demands of like bills and living costs.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
um I know that you was talking about some practical things that people could do. You know,
mm.
a few weeks or last week he was talking about that. But anyhow, what's your
So
view? What's your view on those points there?
so my and what I'd encourage our family to do is that, even though the cost of living has gone up,
Mm,
still find time and space to pay yourself.
mm-hmm,
There are other things you may be able to do whereby you can um, change the flow of your money, and that's in terms of how you spend it.
mm-hmm,
So if you were in the past um, very frequent
No.
in terms of the outside caterers, let's call it any of those fast food, that you would happily phone up that little driver on a scooter and have them deliver. My question to you is, if you used to do that 3, 4, 5 times a week or on a regular basis, then if you are having to think about your spend, why would you not think about what you can cut down on? What I would encourage anyone to do is not to stop, to not stop paying yourself.
Okay. Okay.
So that means how you live is going to be, so that means it may be a case of going to the supermarket and purchasing fresh food and cooking from fresh, because it can go further than if you call one of those young people or old people on a scooter and make use of the local delicacies in your area.
I'm going to step out for a moment here. I shall return. Okay. 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 Then.
So thinking about where you can cut your cloth accordingly, and it may be a case of you think to yourself, okay, my mobile phone contract, because where a number of us are in contract, so your mobile phone contract has expired. So why do you continue to pay the same amount? You may be able to renegotiate a new contract, and or just go onto the SIM only deal because your phone is okay, it still works, and take yourself out of that contract, and then whatever you're saving in that way, that can go towards another, it could go towards a bill, or it can go towards the cost of your living. So think about what you can do practically. If you were someone who went to the hairdresser on a regular basis, on a weekly basis or monthly basis, and whilst you're there, you was getting the manicure and the pedicure and getting it all done. Think about how you can. Do you still need it? Do you have the capacity to go and buy the nail polish from wherever and apply it yourself? And one of the beauties and the advantages of doing it yourself, A, it's cheaper, but B, you have to slow down. You have to be still, just to allow the polish to dry, let's be fair. And it can look just as beautiful. And it may be something that you want to do with the girls. So you've got a group of girlfriends and you think, okay, let's just do this as a evening in rather than an evening out. And let's just laugh and joke with a movie, video, like a bottle of wine that's brought into the home rather than a bottle of wine that you go out and purchase at an establishment. So think about how you spend your money. Because as Brother Aston was saying, and as we know, the cost of living in the UK has gone up. Transport, heating, food, it's all gone up. But the wages, as a number of groups and organisations and disciplines have shown, has not gone up. So they're talking about strikes, so they're talking about what as an employee can do in order to re-establish or reaffirm the disparity in the money. So regardless of what's happening, I would always encourage you to pay yourself. Do not give up on the savings, because it's those savings that will enable you to manage any of the um, unplanned or unforeseen events that may be happening in your life
Yeah.
without
Also,
having to go to a credit card or without having to go to a friend in order to borrow, without having to go down the road of a payday loan or anything like that.
oh, yes, yes, and those interests, um, yeah, those interest on those things, they really do accumulate very quickly. Yeah, but
Yes.
I know recently I received, oh, terms and conditions have been changed to your account. Terms and conditions have been changed to your credit cards and things like that.
Mm,
I've been
mm,
getting quite a few of those letters at the
mm,
moment.
mm,
So
mm, mm.
I should write back and say my terms and conditions have not changed at all. Yeah.
But it's to be mindful of and to think about what can you do in order to spend and save the
Mm,
money that you have that may not have gone up at the rate that you would like. And to be fair, some of us, if it had gone up, we'd be spending
mm,
it at the same rate. Like I say,
yeah.
that those men on those scooters or women
Mm.
on the scooters, there's a lot more of them around, which means there's a lot more of them who are making use of their services.
Yeah.
The question I'd
Yeah.
ask is why?
Hmm.
If you say that you are financially strapped this month.
Putting yourself out there to do some unusual jobs, things like this. You know, even if it's for a
And
short term.
that may be the other thing. Is there an opportunity of you doing a side hustle?
Hmm. Hmm.
And the side hustle may be going out and doing it, or it could be there's many side hustle that you can do from the comfort of your living room.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
what I would encourage you to do is just to understand what it is that you want. Why do you want it?
Mm.
And then, depending on your journey, will depend on whether or not you are able or capable or willing to maintain that side hustle with the same pace that you are doing your regular
Hmm.
9 to 5. You might actually find that that side hustle pays more. To be
Hmm.
fair, a lot of them do actually pay more than 9 to 5 because you end up working for yourself. But you need to have that. Um,
Hmm.
you need to have that. The power of that conviction. You need to have that discipline in order to um, get that side hustle off the ground. Because the thing
Hmm.
about side hustles is they're not always they're easy work, quote unquote, but
Hmm.
it depends on your dedication as to whether or not you find it easy.
Hmm. Hmm. What I've found is that there's a lot of jobs now. Mhm. They have frozen in time with their wages.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
in other words, something that you would probably get like £20 an hour for previously, right?
mm,
Now could be like £12,
mm,
£12
mm,
an hour, and things
mm,
like this. You know, which is
mm.
kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. Why has it dropped? And yet, obviously the cost of running a business is has increased
Mm,
considerably.
mm,
So even if they're running that business, they are still subjecting themselves to how would I put it? They're still subjecting themselves to balancing their income and outcome
mm,
type of thing. You know,
mm,
I've seen and experienced those who have started businesses, and obviously, all the glitz and glam of, yes, so we're starting and we're going to be working for ourselves. I'm going to tell you now, is again, as you say, a lot of conviction,
mhm,
dedication, right?
mhm,
and it takes time to just even get the momentum of some kind of income coming in and out to maintain and sustain the business,
Mhm.
right? Let alone to carve out a regular income for yourself.
Mm.
Some are working just to maintain the business, and
Mm.
literally they haven't got anything for themselves,
Mm.
you know.
Mm. Mm.
So because of the amount of money they probably borrowed to actually initiate the program,
Mm.
they're working to pay that in
Mm.
preference to paying themselves.
Mm.
So it's not easy. It's not easy, but
It's 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 not easy, but it. Okay, let me rephrase it. It's possible,
mm,
and if we all are, if the universe gives us what we need and what we want,
mm,
and there's infinite possibilities within that universe, why is it that you may turn around that some have and some don't?
mm-hmm,
Part of it may be, if we go back to the analogy you said in terms of your colleague,
mm,
parents working in different parts of the business and organization, so they're getting more money for what they're doing than
mm-hmm,
what others are doing, and they're spending it differently.
mm-hmm,
Or it may be the fact that you're out there and you're, as an individual, you're serving and you're getting what you're worth,
mm-hmm,
because you're out there and you're serving the community, you're serving others, and you're getting what you're worth.
mm-hmm,
And in getting what you're worth, there is infinite potential in that
mm-hmm,
area of service.
mm-hmm.
The question is, in order to do that, you need to have an understanding of what your purpose is. What do you like doing? What do you want to jump out of bed in the morning? What enthuses you? What makes you think, yeah, I've
Mm-hmm.
arrived, I'm happy? And that's the key for many a person.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not jumping out of bed, if they are thinking, and it goes back to that initial question, who you are. Well, I'm
Mm,
just a civil servant. I'm just a.
mm,
There's a. Where do you see yourself in that chain?
mhm,
And if,
mhm.
like I said, if that's not your purpose, it's not what you enjoy doing, then you need to do some internal work on self in order to establish and find out what your purpose is.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Are you working somewhere because you fell out of it into it from school, university, or college? Or are you working somewhere whereby you actually love what you're doing? Have you chosen
Exactly.
what you're doing?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And this is one of the things that we have to really, assess ourselves when we make our moves, because some of us may be in a job, maybe some of us are trying to actually get established in a career,
Mm.
right? But remember, and each one of us, and it's not a case of like let's climb the ladder for status,
Mm.
right? Some of us need to balance our work and life, and some of us don't even take that into equation. They don't even take that into equation. Like, for instance, you know, okay, this is a few years. It's probably a talk a few years ago. Like retire, coming into a type. Sorry, being financially independent,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Um, like some of us didn't get the concept of what that actually meant,
Mm.
right? Some of us never even got onto that bandwagon of the being financially independent.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
the concept of it would be beyond some, like some of us as well,
Mm.
right? The opportunities, although they were there open for all, as many of us never even took it up, never took it
Mm.
up,
Mm.
right? Because it was beyond our mindset, and our personal visions.
Mm.
Yeah. But like even now, to say, okay, then can we use that vocabulary now? right?
So I would say yes. You may
Mm,
not have arrived there yet, but if you don't
mm,
think in those terms, you will never
mm,
arrive.
mhm,
So what does it mean to you?
mhm,
Different things, financial independence mean different things to different people. And then
mhm,
once you arrive at that place called zero,
mm,
because you owe nobody nothing, what next?
mhm,
There
mhm,
needs to be more above and beyond the let's get everything down to zero.
mhm,
The
mhm,
other way of looking at it is, okay, in order to get down to zero, you'll have potentially have won that proverbial thing called the lottery. So then all your bills are paid off. So then you're
mm,
financially independent
mm.
to a
Well, I don't
degree.
know. I don't
That's
know.
what I
Reading,
mean.
reading
To a
and hearing of some of the outcomes of that, I don't know.
Well, that's why I ended with, to a degree, you may feel you're financially independent,
Mm,
that you're down to zero. But if you've got no um, idea of who you are and what your purpose is, that
mm,
won't bring you the happiness being at
mhm,
zero. Whether or not it's you've managed to get yourself down to zero because you're paid all your bills, and or whether or not you've had a windfall in whichever
mhm,
way it comes, and all your bills have been paid. Getting back down to zero isn't necessarily the answer for any of us,
mhm,
because then why are we going to get up in the morning? Why are we going to get up in the rising? Why are we going to open our door and go through our door? There needs to be a purpose. Comes back to your initial conversation and question in terms of who are we?
mhm, mhm.
And the only way to establish that is to work out what your purpose is.
Exactly, exactly. And the thing is that even though when I initiated that statement there, right, and in the way how it was said, or imposed upon you, or imposed upon anybody that receives it, it meant at the time, right, that they would say, "Who are you?" In other words, they don't see you, right? But
Mm,
obviously, those that it impacts, it would ask the question. Then you would probably internalize that and say, "But I am somebody. Who I am. I am who I am." Yeah. And then obviously the country of how would I explain who I am, what I am. So that's the reason why I made that statement. Yeah.
mm, mm,
Right. So
mm,
you have two sides of the fence. The one
mm,
that states it, in other words, I don't see you, and then the other one on the other side who receives it of, well, I am who I am. So therefore, why is it that you don't want to see me or acknowledge me?
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
So
But then know who I am
mm.
in what context?
Well, that's what I mean, because like usually what I would get it from, it would be from like an African, for instance.
Mm,
I know in Ghana they use it as an insult. You know,
mm,
you know, a lot of people, they use it as an insult to say, "Who are you?" In
mm,
other words, I don't see you.
mm, mm,
Yeah,
mm,
I don't see you. I
mm,
don't acknowledge you.
mm,
Right. But obviously, from us as a European perspective, we take it kind of literally.
mm,
Yeah. What do
mm,
you mean? What do you mean? Who am I? Right. And
mm,
obviously, you would probably say, your name and all the things there, right?
mm, mm,
That's not what they meant by saying that in any way whatsoever,
mm,
right?
mm,
You understand? But because of the literal sense of how we take it, we have to give acknowledgement to the process of what's happened here.
mm,
Yeah,
mm.
yeah. Mm.
And we, yeah, yeah, like you say, taking acknowledgement,
Mm,
asking the question,
mm,
and you may not necessarily know the answer because sometimes that answer may not be easily recognizable.
mm,
But that doesn't necessarily mean you stop asking the question. And this is where the internal work comes
mm,
from a in order to help you answer that question.
mm,
It may be a case of who you're moving with,
mm,
friends, family, etc. That will help you to answer that question. How do others see you? That
mm,
may be your starter for 10.
mm.
How do others see you?
Yeah. How did they? Yeah. How did they see you? You know, yeah. The one. I mean, like even doing this process here, because like doing the self analysis, yeah, to ensure that you have a balanced view of yourself first of all,
Mm,
right? Knowing and living within the convictions of what you would like to be right through your
mm,
your time, yeah,
mm, mm,
and even through the day, because some of us are living by day, hour by hour,
mm,
right, where we've had to just check ourselves, take that time out to just check ourselves, rejuvenate, rebalance ourselves, yeah.
mm, mm,
And there's nothing wrong with that, because it's all part of the process. It is all part of the yeah, I'm gonna say process of evolving,
mm,
yeah, as we go through our stages in our time. For instance, you go from like puberty, go through your puberty from infant to teenager and into the adult. Then you go
mm,
into your middle form, right?
mm,
And then you go into your mature times. Yeah.
mm,
So
mm,
even with that, our views, our values, our requirements do change over that period of time.
mm,
Yeah. And to
mm,
embrace that process of evolvement, right, is very, very important, right?
mm,
To maintain our health and our wealth in all aspects as well, we have to maintain that balance there.
mm,
Things that we
mm,
did when we were in our middle form as an adult is not necessarily the things that we're going to do when we're in our mature form. Yeah,
mm,
right.
mm,
And in some cases, the capabilities are are not there either. Yeah. So
mm,
therefore, you have to give acknowledgement to where you are and what
mm,
you are able to do, and how your form or your form or body will actually react to a lot of things that we would love to do, but we can't do it no more.
mm,
Can't
mm,
do it no
mm,
more, type of thing. But
mm,
and it's the same thing with all aspects of life, because as much as what we're changing, life itself changes as well. You know,
mm, mm,
so therefore we have to give acknowledgement as also for the change of life, and how we move into it, develop into it, and be part of the process as well.
mm, mm,
Yeah? If we choose
mm.
to be. Yeah.
So I would say we are always part of the process.
Mm,
And I don't know whether or not choose is the word that I would use, is whether or not you're consciously
mm,
aware of the part you play in that, because all life goes through it, except us as human beings. So are you gonna wake up and take this opportunity to go for it, to be
mhm,
the best you can be, to understand where you're at and what
mhm,
your purpose is?
mhm,
Are
mhm.
you, will you take that opportunity?
Exactly. Exactly.
And some of us do, and some of us don't.
Some of us are just led into something, and we don't even realize what we're in.
Mm,
In
mm,
other words, some forms of employment. Well, at least I
mm.
have a job, right? And then when you check it out, that the end of month doesn't match what you're required to have for the outcome, right?
Yeah, but
So
then there's
go ahead.
to it may be at least I have a job because at one point it was needed and necessary, and
Hmm.
whilst you are going through your phases,
Hmm.
to be fair, you needed to. There was a requirement to pay your way. In order to pay your way, you needed to get a job
Hmm.
that enabled
Hmm.
you to pay some of your bills.
Hmm.
But if that's not your purpose and you're not enjoying it and you're not happy in that space,
Hmm.
then the question I'd always ask is, what are you doing?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, because like it's absolutely not necessary for us to look where we are in the balance of
Mm,
ourselves, right?
mm,
I
mm,
know that I know we're associating this with finance as well, right? Because
mm,
that's the theme of this month's program, or what we're putting together, right?
mm,
But even in that, we have to look at the impact of one element
mm,
and how that impacts all of our balance as well, right
mm,
across the whole spectrum. Yeah.
mm, mm.
I have a caller. Who do we have? Oh, here we go. Our brother Akram has joined
Yeah,
us. Grand
Greetings,
risings, my brother.
Good Rising.
congratulations to our sister Sandra.
Mm-hmm.
Greetings.
Great, great.
Yeah, so yeah, I've been listening for a while. Not from the beginning of the show, but from halfway so far, yeah. And it's an interesting contrast. I mean, I think this is going to be the last week of your um, financial thing, is it?
That's right. Correct. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Anyway, let me see if I can put something into the field. As I said, sometimes I have to
Wow.
look around my family and
Hold on. Brother Akram. Brother Akram. Are you using like a hands free or something at this particular time? Because it's echo.
yeah, I'm on a hands free. Yeah,
Okay. Just a
yeah.
minute. I'm just trying to bring down the
For
reverb.
the
The reverb.
noise, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Try it now. Try it now. That'd be good. Continue. Continue, my
Yeah,
brother.
yeah. Yeah, I was saying that I have to look at things from my sort of family sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, but before I go there, I'll go to myself because one of the things that I had in mind as a child growing up, young growing up, and my mindset was, look, you know what, I'm not going to get married until I'm in a position where I can come home and just say to the wife, look, just put your clothes on, we're going out. You don't have to be thinking, well, planning in a week ahead because I don't have the money or I have to be putting, budgeting here, budgeting there. You know what I'm saying? I just had that mindset that, look, this is my freedom. That, look, I want to be in a position where I come home. Just say to the wife, look, just put on your clothes. We're going someplace. We're going this, and don't have to think about where the money is. Don't think about all these sort of issues. You understand what I'm saying? And that was something that was very prevalent in myself growing up. Even the case of even having mortgage and things like that. I don't want to go into this mortgage business. I'll work and then I'll get my money and I'll build my house or whatever, that sort of, or buy my house or something like that. So for a very long time, I didn't go down those roads of borrowing and things like that. And so what I'm saying is just one aspect of my life. I don't know how many people think like that, but that was my thinking as a teenager coming up. You know, yeah, that. And as I said, I didn't quite achieve it, but but that was my mindset. That was how I wanted to live.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, I came here in '65, and I started working. I went to school for 1 year, and then I started working in '66, and I was in a good job. From day one, I was always in a good position. I was doing a good job because I was second in command of the ship. And then the company that I worked for, it was their boat that I was working on. And sometimes when they don't have work, we're not sailing or whatever, they would, because they had storage lighters, where they store a lot of their wheat, because it was a company of wheat and so forth. So in the docks they would do that. So when I'm not working there, I would be working again on the lighters, bring up to the thing to unload and so forth. And then sometimes when the dockers, in those days when there's a shortage of dockers, then I would get a job as a docker, and they used to earn good money. So you're talking about in my teens, that is back in the '60s. Wages then was only about what? Again, when I started, it was only about £7 a week, right? Right. So because of my position on the ship, I was earning man's wage at 15. At times, for women, it was about £4, right? And we have to look at the situation of our mom and papa in those days, who used to have to work, come here, work for that sort of money, have children back home, have to send money back home to look after grandmother for children and things like that, out of that sort of wage that they was making, about £7 a week, and they did it. You know what I'm saying? And they did it. And I say, like my mother, she had 5 children. I mean, she and my father split, and she went. But then they were renting a place. And she said to the husband, "Look, let us buy a place because we have these children in this place." And so she was working, and the husband was working, and But again, as I said, houses were cheap in those days. You can get a house for under £1,000. But again, with £1,000 and you're only earning £5, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. Obviously, it would look out, and this is insurmountable. It's like having £1 million. You're putting yourself in £1 million in them days.
Exactly,
You know what I mean? So,
yeah. So that was the situation in those times. And as I said, what put me on the road was when 7 years after I came here in the early '70s, my father, who had been here for 20 years, finally decided that he's gonna take a trip to go back to the country to see his mother. And unfortunately, what happened is that because I used to like swimming, it was summertime, and I went swimming in an outdoor pool, and I landed badly, dived off the high pool, broke the arm. So I was put into hospital, and then whilst I was sick, then I left. My father was in another ward in the hospital, and that's the first time I've known him that he was sick. And then when I did get to go and see him, they said that he had cancer, not cancer. He had what do you call it? Not cancer. It's
leukemia.
Sorry?
Leukemia.
No, it's just what do you call it? Something that you could have had a mild operation. You know what I mean? But what happened is when he said, "Well, look, I'm going to cancel the flight," so we all booked to go. And as I said, that was the first time I booked to go and back home. And he said, "I'm going to cancel the flight because I don't think I'm going to be able to enjoy myself if I go home, feeling like this." So he canceled the flight. This was August, and I went home and came back. When I came back, I took him to the hospital to get the operation. And what happened is they cut him open, they sewed him up, and And I just sold him back because his whole inside was messed up. Cancer, stone, and everything, you know, and the other disease I had at the moment, you know. So, but his whole inside was messed up. They couldn't do nothing for him. And he never got to see his mother at times. And I then promised myself, you know what, I'm not going to be here like this every year. I don't know, you know, still young, saying to myself, you know, this idea of being here for all these people always talking about home and this and that, and they never get to go, or you might never get to go because, you know, you're working and you're looking after children, you're looking after this and so forth. And I said, no, it's not going to happen. Every year I'm going to go home. And if I can't go home every year, I'm going to go home every second year.
Yeah.
But somehow, no later than the third year, I must go. Right? That was my plan, you know, at that time. Right? And I was only about 21 at that time, you know. And I'm saying, that's my plan. I'm not going to be working here all the time for 50 years. And, you know, because home is where my heart is, you know. And I started working on that thing. You know, I came after that. I 2 years I went back, you know, and I continued to do that until I got to the stage where I was actually going back three, 4 times a year. You know, I would not be here in the winter. Easter, I'll be gone again. August again, I'll be gone, and back again for Christmas time because we had. I mean, one of the best places to be on earth in December, you know, is Montserrat because they have the carnival then, you know, for about 2 weeks or whatever. You know, you have the king, the Calypso King show, the Queen show, and things like that, and different functions taking place up to the build up until the 1st of January, where you have the big road thing going on, you know. So it's a beautiful place to be if you're like that, because people come back home from all over the world. They come to that festival and things like that, you know. So it's a place where you hang out and lose your hair at that time. But what I'm saying is, I'm just trying to bring you up onto the speed of sort of economy. Because as I said, I continue to mention about my mother, and I'm saying, you know, in those days, earning that kind of wage, and, you know, they bought a house here with that, because she was not a professional person. She was just working in a factory. And her husband was working in a factory as well. Although he had certain skills, you know, he was like be able to put things, because, you know, they bought a house and they bought, had no indoor toilet. So when I came in 65, I had to go to put a bath on in the house. But I never did because I used to have to go to the public bath, you know. But what I'm saying is that, but he had skills, so he was able to repair the house, you know, and extend it and so forth. But there was no indoor thing, toilets and other things. And he put those things in. But what I'm saying is that they had a home. They had 5. They had she had 5 children, right? And I'm saying, you know, she started to look after grandmother and other things like that, and look after me and so forth and things like that. And they did it. And then what happened is that later on, because when my grandmother died, she inherited the land, but because I used to go back home, I used to make sure I surveyed the land, because land was not surveyed, and put things in place and so forth like that, you know. So I used to also take a lot of pictures and come back and show people, you know what I mean? And because a lot of people had no interest of actually going back. In fact, my mother said, I have no interest of going back because of how I left the country, you know what I mean? I was sorry. But when I came back and I showed her pictures of some of her friends and neighbors and the kind of houses they were living in, because from the 60s, when the Europeans started coming back, because a lot after the Second World War, many of the lightest in color people left, they came back and they started making a lot of investments and so forth. In fact, as I said, you know, most of them became very skilled builders. I don't know, they seem like they had an art for building. And, you know, so many of the people can build their own homes and things like that. So, you know, I mean, talk to Galaxy Clyde and he can tell you, he's one of those people, you know. And as I said, they just continue to do that. But as I say, I used to go back home regular, and when a friend of ours, you know, our next door neighbor, he was an engineer, building and so forth, and he used to visit my mom, you know, and like that. And she said, look, you know, and then you build a house back home on the land, and she took whatever money that she had, fantastic house, you know, and she just gave it to him. And she didn't have, she had no idea what house she was going to get or nothing.
But what you know something over the years now, because obviously I won't say things have changed or anything like this, but the attitude of a lot of people have been a financial grab, right? You know, we are here. For instance, you know, we've heard of our parents or grandparents have gone through this process of, like, you know, working their lives, sending money to in the care of their relatives, and then, you know, more often than not, that the relatives have utilized the money to maintain and sustain their lives, you know. So and then obviously when that person comes to the time of when they said, you know what, I'm ready to come home and retire now, and then they go and they find that there's nothing there for them, you know. What you know, we are the things now, and like, even for us to go through what we're suggesting here in this conversation, right, is to ensure that we are right for our own reparations, my brother, right? Things of what was happening 20, 30, 50 years ago, right? We have to make sure we are in the right mindset of today. Yeah? Would you concur with that, Sister Sandra?
Yeah, there's an element of our parents, guardians, done what they needed to do with the knowledge and the skills that they had. So as Brother Akram was saying, that speaking about the desire to own their own home, but also the understanding that the fact that I'm the member of the family that has made it over to the UK or the Canadas or wherever, I've still got responsibility in order to send money back to the Caribbean, whichever island, or the Africas, whatever it is. So there's that element of it. But now we are where we are, and we have the understanding of what our parents or guardians did. To some degree, we may understand why they did it. We need to take it one stage further. So the question is, how do we do that? From a thought process, do we also want to own our own home? From a thought process, are we actually happy in the space that we're in? Because one of the things that Brother Akram was saying was, unless he was thinking the way he was thinking, a lot of his outcome reflects his thought process. And what I would encourage our brothers and sisters and those who are listening to do is to start thinking today, if you've not started it already. And because you won't arrive at the destination if you don't know, if you've got no thought about where it is, what it looks like.
One of the things also that I feel that we have to take the responsibility for is our financial education, right? And preparation again, right? it's useless, as I've seen and experienced over the years, that people have been working their life and their heart out for their children, and then their children have turned around and disregarded all their hard work by selling and squandering the wealth. Yeah.
But the mentality, whether or not they squander it upon their parents or guardians passing on,
Mm-hmm.
or whether or not the mentality says that they would have done it regardless of how they come by that money,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is a different conversation from what Brother Akram's saying and what we're encouraging the family, the listeners to think about is what if you've got a clear idea in terms of what you want, whether it be a purpose or what your burning desire is, it reduces the element of you squandering anything, because it's enough, it's never enough. And I will qualify that statement in terms of it may be enough for you to live, but if there's other things that you want to do, choose to do, would like to do, having the additional income will enable you to do that. So exactly as Brother Akram, and he shared with us in terms of going over to the Africas and doing something out there, having that additional income means then that he can channel that energy flow in terms of A, the trips out there, but B, the purchase of the said land or having those conversations.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't have that drive and energy, that money could have been spent in other ways, but because he's got the purpose, because he's got a drive.
Yeah. What I would like to conclude today on towards and directing it towards, although we've addressed this over the last few weeks here, about preparation of ourselves, right? But it's preparation of our families as well, generational preparation. Yeah. We have to be clear of what our requirements are for what we want, right? If we're incorporating this for our families as generational, education and preparations again, right? We must ensure that they are willing to be part of the process, what you are putting the foundation down for. Yeah. Because there are many of our children, right? They will look at what you're doing, but unfortunately the parent has not shared the program or set up a program that suits both them as a parent and their children. Yeah, because there's not everybody want to go and sit down in the sunshine in Jamaica. Yeah, not everybody wants to go and sit down in Africa. Yeah, and live to raise their family in Africa. Yeah, so if it's not conducive with that, right, you have to cut your cloth. To be honest, you have to cut your cloth to say, you know what, okay, then this is for me. This is for me, and then okay, then possibly after I leave, right? Maybe you want to sell it or whatever, right? But have that in mind. It's not a case of, well, in my will, I want you all to come and live here and all them type of thing. Because I'm gonna tell you now, as your eye close, is a different story. What's gonna happen? Yeah, it's a different story that's gonna happen, right? You may request it in your will to say, this is what I would like for you to do, right? Or this is how I would like my wealth to be distributed. But in reality, in reality,
Mm.
it doesn't. More time it doesn't really happen like that. Yeah, right. Or it's not. What those who say I'm entitled to would want it to happen like that. Yeah,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
yeah. So.
And that comes down to a couple of things in terms from
Mm,
my understanding
mm,
or overstanding is it depends on the conversations you're having
mm,
um, with your loved ones. If you're building that humongous house in the Africas or the Caribbean, it's do your children, grandchildren, do they actually want to go out there and live? And if they
exactly.
don't
Yeah.
want to go, if they don't want to go out there and live, then rather than forcing them, there may be other members of the community or the family that can make use of the space for a time called X. But it's worth exploring, but it comes back to the conversation. Your purpose and their purpose in terms of your children's may be on two completely different trajectories.
Mhm.
But without having that conversation, you will never know.
Exactly. Exactly. You would never know. And the thing, and as I said, you have to be absolutely honest, right, with yourself, because it might not what you hear may not. Oh, what you hear may not be what you want to hear, right? But it's their truth, and you may have to be adapt. You may have to adapt your thinking and way of I won't say, yeah, you'd have to adapt your way of thinking and the way of how it's actually coming over to you as well, right? Because
Yeah.
our dreams for our children is not their life. It's not their lives what they actually want to live. Brother Akram,
Yeah,
come back in
but,
it, man.
but as I said, have to listen to what you're just saying. See, part of the investment, what people don't realize, part of your investment of your life is your children. Okay? And now I'm going to point out to you why I say that. So it's not just saving money or these things. Because your children is also, because you spend a lot of money on those children, right? And as you point out earlier, does those children respect what you have done? How many of them will say, look, I have to look after mama when she comes up, when I could grow up, I mean, how many of them, because I see lots of children today, 30 years of age and 40 years of age. I have friends in the work, and they're still having to be looking after those children. You know what I mean? At 30 years of age. And so on. Instead of those children, the ones I was thinking, well, I got to go and look after dad or mom. They're still looking to mom to be the ones giving them the money. You see, and as I said, my father died 50 years ago, and I don't know whether he had penny or this. I had absolutely nothing because he was married to someone else, and they never even said to me, "Look, here's a penny from what your dad have or whatever." I have no idea, but I was not interested because I was going to go and earn my own money anyway. You know what I mean? I was not interested in whatever. Yeah, for me, that's fine. If you're not, it's okay as well. Same as my mother. I mean, as I said, the similar time 40 years ago, my mother got sick, and I said to her, "Look, go home." And she had built the house there. I said to you, the guy, she just gave the guy the money, and the guy built the house. She had no idea what the house was going to be like or nothing, but that was the trust. You see what I'm saying? She had no idea. She just went to the bank, pick up whatever money she had, give it to him. And then later he said, well, you'll need some money. So he went to the bank and got a loan to finish the house. But it's just to show you the difference of mindset of today. I mean, a friend of mine just tell me, look, I've been in Jamaica during the COVID. I have children here. Nobody called me to ask me, how am I? Do I need this or do I need that? And that is the mindset of hearing from a lot of people here. You know, I mean, there's no way that we could be, as you know, our generation coming up, that our parents is back there in the Caribbean, and we don't write to say, do you want some water, do you want this, or whatever, you know. But there's a total difference in the generation of people come now. I mean, you know, or to say, well, okay, my parents have this, and
Oh man, lost
Have
him.
we missed him?
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll call back. Oh, there you go. What's going on there? I'm doing the screamy thing. Right, you're back with us, brother Akram.
yes, I'm back, yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. That's good. Go ahead.
That is something we have to look at. You know what I mean? I mean, imagine you know, your father, and especially us generation, many of the times we still care for children and so forth. But look at the mindset of the children. You know, you don't know whether they're probably waiting that as soon as you get the house, they stick you in a home somewhere, and that's it.
Mhm.
You know, whereas many of our younger generation say, well, we're gonna have to look after our parents in their older age, you know,
Mhm.
and so forth. And as I say, when my mother went home, she had no idea because she worked here all of her life. She didn't work back home. When she came here, so she doesn't know really the life of working back home, you know, as such. And anyway, when I told her, look, you need to get out of here because your health is not very well and so forth, she just decided, yeah, I'm going. The husband was not very happy about her going. And, you know, because even when she built the house at home, she didn't ask him for anything. She just built it with her own money.
Mm.
And why did she say that? He said every time he didn't like the idea that because he was from Barbados and he was expecting that she was just going. But he's saying, well, no, because my grandmother leave me the land there, and I feel that if he wants to build a house I'm her wife, and I'm happy to go.
Mhm.
But this is my house, because when we were buying this house, although I'm the one who inspired that we should buy the house, he always say his house. He never say our house.
Mm. You see those words, man.
You
Those
see?
words very important. Again,
Yeah.
very
You
important.
know. So this was the thing. I say she didn't have a problem with him coming home and staying in the house, but I've been so forth. But
Mm.
he said, but anyway, as I said, he never cared for, you know. So when she went home, thankfully, I have a brother, and if I say I'm going to do Mama Pound, he say here's another pound.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? He always matches me with anything I'm going to do. You know what I mean? I'm saying, you know. So he was always by my side. So we were taking care of her for several years because the husband was not singing. Even when we bring her back here, so every year we bring her back here, and the first place she goes with her husband, and we were the ones who was paying for all of that. He was not doing any of those things. You know what I'm saying? And but anyway, as I said, he passed away some years later, and now she inherited the house that they have here, and she has the one back home as well.
Mm-hmm.
So from the age of 50 to the age of 90, she was totally independent. She had nothing because, as I said, her early part when she went back home was the investment that she made in the children that she had.
Mm-hmm.
So we were the ones financing her. You understand me? For about 7 years, we were financing her. So that's part of her investment, is it not?
Yeah.
I mean, that you follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's the way seeing it. I mean, don't worry, mom. Where's your investment? When you didn't have any savings or whatever to that degree, but where are your investment? And then after that, when the husband died here, she inherited the house and his pension and so forth. So she never wanted for anything ever again. So she never worked from since she was 50 until she was 90 till she died. So.
And this is the thing. We have to have those real conversations. We have to have it, right? Acknowledgement also that obviously what we feel that would be right is not necessarily what our children would be right. I mean, my daughter is very brutally truthful to me. Right? Basically, what you have, Dad, that's you, right? That's not me. You understand? So anything that I participate in is going to be just for my life, for me to enjoy, type of thing. So, but you know what? And that's the thing, is that enjoy it, enjoy life, enjoy what life actually presents to you, right? And then, but ensure that when the handover is inevitably gonna come, that it is a smooth transition without the hindrance of, well, this is what they would want, and they'll be looking down on me, and if I don't do this, my they're gonna be haunting me and all them foolishness there, right? We don't need that. You don't need that hang up over our heads in any way whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, but children should appreciate whatever their parents do.
No, they should. They should do. But come on now, let's have the reality. I know. See, Sister Sandra is smiling a little bit here as well. What do you say, Sister Sandra?
No, because we recognize what we would like them to do. Depending on the conversations you've had with them would depend on whether or not that word "should" becomes the reality. Recognizing you'd want them, hope that they will support you in your old age as you get younger, and you transition. But there will be young people out there that will be so consumed with making their own way in life that they don't consider where you're at that time of life, and the support on the hand that you think they're going to reach out to you just does not appear. There are a lot of distractions.
They reach out to you, all right?
And if they're reaching out, they're not ready. They're reaching out to hand you something. They're reaching out in terms of what they can get. So
exactly.
It does depend on the conversation in the mind of the child, the mind of the young person.
So true.
There are no guarantees, because as each generation comes along, the narrative changes, and that is part of the various distractions that are out there. But the narrative changes. What our parents expected of us and what we expect from our children are different, and maybe or can be different. Let me state that. Let me just rephrase that.
The thing is, again, as you pointed out, I said, my mother, I don't think she expects, because she never, even when she went home, right? I mean, we're the ones, my brother and I, would just send money, send things for her, or do things that's necessary at the house or whatever. But she never wants to ask us for anything, right? She never wants to ask us for anything. And when Hurricane Hugo came, right? Because I say, again, dealing with money, dealing with things, she was always like that, right? She would only buy things in the sales and so forth. She was very astute of how she spent money, and things like that. That's why she was able to have money. So when the guy came, she had money to go and build her house at home, And if you see the house, you know, it's wow, you know. And for a person who is not a professional, who is just working in the factory and having to look after a grandmother, look after her children, and still was able to save even at that low kind of money that they were having. You see what I'm saying? And that's because she disciplined herself with what she's going to buy. You know, I mean, I'm not going to go and shop and buy these fantastic trainers and so forth. You'll be lucky. She buy the trousers for us boys, and the trousers she buy for us at 5, we still wear it at the age of 10 because they have to go into it. That means she buys the trousers and just anyone that just fits you. So you're gonna have to wear that. Right? You can't go complain to her and tell her, oh, this and that. Like I see many children these days are doing, oh man, that I want. No, you wear what I give you. You know what I'm saying? And that's how she was able to save. And as I said, you know, Ole, she don't go running to the thing to buy restaurant thing. No, you know, unless she really is out and she has to do that. But no, she make sure she cook the meal. So that means it's a lot less money spending for looking after the family. You know, and it is so vitally important that the mindset. And as I said, I had, you know, I myself, I personally didn't expect to, you know, I mean, I have to look after her. She's my mother and so forth. Whether I got anything or not, that was neither here nor there. You know, I'm going to do my duty. That's your duty. You have a duty, right? Take care of your parents, and that's what children need to understand. Right? Whatever comes with me, you have a duty, right? And I don't think many children see that as a duty. You understand what I'm saying, right? The parents had a duty and they did that duty, right? They had a duty to take care of it till you come so to touch, you know. And, you know, one sad thing for me is one time Sister Madge called up and in Dr. Abu's show, and she was pointing out the things that she had to go through, bring her children over from Jamaica and the strive and the different work she had to do and so forth. And when one of them became a lawyer, and this lawyer come back home, I wish that Dr. Abu should play that thing more often because, you know, it's so painful when you see what a mother has done. And this person knows job, you know, you have to get higher than this quality. And this child comes back home and cursed her out. She said so much so that I pee myself. What kind of children are these? You cannot see the struggle that your parents go through. You know? And you know, she said there's a struggle because, you know, in those days, having to struggle to bring a child up from Jamaica, and she's not professional, she's working in menial jobs to try and support them to whatever they can, and she reached to this height, and to come back home and make your mother do this to you, and you make your mother pee herself. Look, I must tell people, look, okay? And this is something I saw from home. Well, she was my cousin anyway, but distant cousin. But next door, she had lots of children, and she had a house and land. And one of the sons said, "Mom, I'm coming back home." And he came back home, knocked the old house down, built up a bakery and and things like that, and built a new home. Put the mother in the back room, and she's blind. She's blind. Okay? And later on, take that same woman, who is his mother, right? And put her out on the street, right? Now, the house that she had, whether it was a wooden house, whatever, it was her house and the land. No, he has basically thrown her out on the street, my brother. I see this lady cry for weeks. She didn't want to move her. She stayed and cried. I came to England. When I went back 7 years later, he was dead. And his wife was in mental case. You understand? Don't treat your parents like this at all. Don't treat your parents. They've invested in you. You should be wiping their feet, as Dr. Abu said, you should be wiping their feet, you know. And this is one of the messages that I have to send out to our people, because so many people, as I said, I listen to many of my friends and so forth, and they're saying, look, not good. You look after the children, and you're there for so many months. COVID is there, and the child only calls you to say, "How are you, Dad? Do you want some water?" You follow what I'm saying? That's not good enough.
I get what you're saying, recognizing then that we're coming up to the top of the hour. This is a conversation, again, that as people, we need to, as family, we need to have, in so much as, I love you used two words in terms of what your mother did, and that was the element of discipline and save. And it's with both of those in unison that you became the person that you are, but you also recognized the responsibility or the love that you had, that you could share and you could give back to your mother. You could give back. And as individuals, we need to think that our parents, a number of them would have done without. And we didn't even notice, but they would have done without in order to bring us up. When they get to that stage where they need our help, we should be there individually, collectively, as a family, to support them. But that won't always be the case, because human nature says that one child will do and the other child won't, because of human nature and the way that they think and the way that they're wired. But if we, for ourselves, take away that thought process, that there needs to be an element of discipline in terms of what we do, there needs to be an element of saving, so that we can, as we grow old, we can make different choices. And those choices may be in relation to supporting our elders, but those choices may also be in relation to what we do and how we live our purpose.
So true. So true. Well said, Sister Sandra. Right. As Sister Sandra's pointed out, we're coming to the top of the hour. And said that them next presenter there is always ready for us. Okay. Conclusion. And you only have I'm gonna give you 30 seconds. Brother Akram, go.
Yeah, the conclusion for me is that, as I said, it is important that we look at ourselves. We look at ourselves and plan our lives. Think of where we are, what we intend to do, what we hope to achieve in life, and work towards that. I mean, you have to work towards it. If you don't have the idea, then you're not going to look for a job or look for the ways that you are going to achieve that. That is right.
Okay.
Whatever the dream is or whatever you hope, how are you going to achieve it?
Okay, great stuff. And Sister Sandra?
I'm not going to add to anything above what I've said moments ago. So the only thing I'll actually add is that just as a forward, this Saturday we have the black market.
Okay. Yeah, the black market Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay then. Thank you. Where is that one? Where's that located?
That is going to be, and I'm just looking it up as we speak. You keep talking and I'll come back to you.
Okay then. Right then. I want to say thank you for joining us on the on the Grand Galaxy's Grand Rising show. You see, I've got so much of them in it. So much of them. Anyhow, thank you for joining us this rising. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I found it. It's West Green Learning Centre, which is at Parkview Academy, West Green Road, London, N15 3QR, and that's on 12 till 9 p.m. Saturday, the 30th of September.
I'm sure I saw Queen Afua down there at one stage. You know, yeah, I think I did. Yeah. Anyhow, that's a good one. Could you give that address one more time, please, as we outro?
So the Black Market and Film Festival this Saturday, the 30th of September, which is at West Green Learning Centre, Parkview Academy, London, N15 3QR.
Okay then. Right then, people. Have a great day until we meet again. They see me smile, but they don't know what I feel inside. Only you know, yeah. Only you know. They see me smile, but they don't know what I feel inside. Adios. They see the dancing, them see the performance. Enough people see me life and want one, but them no know say more time it look dormant, and them no see say I'm me belly me a crawl pan. Cause my mama just called me with tears in her eye. She never know me have a stage show tonight. Not even she see the fears in my eyes, but me just a go and put on the show, cause they don't know, yeah.